11:57 a.m. on this lovely Thursday afternoon. It's time to play a little game of No Fence Riders, Browns Colts edition. Bernie has never been a guest with us when we've done No Fence Riders. This will be his first test into the No Fence Rider realm. Bernie, it's a yes or no answer. There's no in between. You got to pick a side of the fence, and you are going to be the first to answer these questions as our guest. Then I'll tell you how the rest of the lovely panel answered. Steve, are you ready to take the first question of No Fence Riders? Bernie Kosar, will a Browns receiver catch a touchdown pass this weekend versus Indy? Through 5 games, in totality, the Browns receivers have 1 touchdown catch.
And
yes
I know that's embarrassing, but
in totality.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm looking at Big G here with his thumbs down there, and I want to.
Don't read into that.
I'm not reading into that.
Okay.
I'm Mr. Positive. I'm going yes.
So he says yes. Bernie says yes. Bernie is joining the party on the yes side of the fence because not only did Bernie say yes, but so did Earl, G, Tyvis, Bull, Jay, and myself, Jason.
Still not
Angry
buying
Jason.
in.
The only one who thinks the streak continues.
I know what Jason would say if he were here, because this is what he always does when he answers a question like this. History tells me they won't. So I'm going with history.
Actually, they've scored 5 touchdowns, right? The wide receivers?
No,
he scored 1 touchdown.
Oh, 1.
That's 1.
Yeah, Bull, it's been that bad.
Well, history tells you that wide receivers do catch touchdown passes. Just
not for the Browns. Just not for the
But
Browns.
the Colts are probably, I'm thinking about this quickly, by far the worst defensive team the Browns have played this year.
Fact.
They've played all good defensive teams, or at least adequate.
Boy, Baltimore, they sure shut down Baltimore, which I still can't figure out.
And then last week they got boat
and
raced
that
by
game
Jacksonville.
was in Baltimore.
Yeah, but you can't,
I know.
you can't judge based on
I
just
know,
one game.
but I can't erase that from my mind.
I know,
That's
but
what I'm saying.
in the 6, I don't know if they've had a bye. In the 5 or 6 games they've played, overall they've been poor defensively. They're the worst team the Browns have played. I don't know which camera to look at now. Which camera am I looking at right now? 2?
You're over here.
See,
you're
you
now,
see
Bull.
how
Yes.
hard my job
It is.
is?
It's tricky. So I think they will. First of all, Amari Cooper has played very well considering that the quarterback play outside of the Tennessee game has been awful. So Amari's played well. He's due for a touchdown. And the rest of the guys in the wide receiving core, I don't trust any of them. But I trust Amari. They got to get him in the end zone, and they will this week.
I tell you, I like how Amari's been running routes and absolutely getting open. I know it doesn't fit into the wide receiver category, but David Njoku and how he's been playing and implementing him, I OCD obsess on the fade route. And Chief at 6'6" and his athleticism in a way.
They should do
like
that
I'd be hard pressed at 60 years old not to do that about every time I'm down there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's worked for years for other teams. Yeah. It's really sad that through 5 games that the team's receiving core has 1 touchdown. The reason I said yes is opposite of Jason's argument. They're due.
Well, how many passing touchdowns do they have total? 4? 5?
I don't know.
In totality, they have 4 touchdowns. All 4 were from Deshaun Watson. They have 7 interceptions. Deshaun has 2. Walker has 2. DTR has 3.
Yeah, so they've thrown 4 touchdowns. It's not just the receivers. I mean, there's more receivers, but.
Bernie, you love Amari Cooper. Who was the guy you played with that was closest to Amari Cooper's skill set?
So I got to be sensitive because I love all the guys I played with and stuff. But, it depends, too, on the situation. And I'm not trying to play the fence on this. There's no doubt the Webster Slaughter and the blitz coverage against bump and run technique.
You guys killed it.
Brian Brennan and what he did on that 3rd and 3 to 6 and those getting open to extend drives. And then we talked at length today about the awesome Chris Dolman and that Minnesota Vikings game. Reggie Langhorne, in certain conditions with his athleticism and his physicalness. And I actually like this today, and where I'm trending and still answering the Amari Cooper line. So Amari Cooper's a bigger guy. Okay, and he has really good footwork, and he knows how to create separation. So
is that Reggie?
And that was Reggie.
Yeah.
In any situation, and Reggie was never caught. So if Reggie got open, he wasn't caught from behind.
Wow.
And Amari Cooper he seems to get open, and he doesn't seem to get caught right now. So he's making those big plays, and that separation that he's able to create in that intermediate area of 12 to 18 yards.
Right.
That was Langhorne. God, he was so good with that.
I loved watching him. He was great.
Yeah, so when you develop that bond and that rapport with somebody, Amari Cooper's ripe to develop a rapport with the quarterback. And then, for him to be making these plays now with 3 quarterbacks like this, it's special.
All right, Mike, what's next?
Question number 2. Sedarius Smith has yet to record a sack as a Cleveland Brown. Will his first sack of the season come on Sunday against the Colts? Bernie, you're up first. Yes or no?
Yes.
And Bernie once again joining the majority here, but it's not as much of a majority because Bull is playing the Jason card going against the numbers. He said no. The rest of us, including JG, myself, and Earl, and even Jason, say it's happening.
Why no, Bull?
Well, if you look at Sedarius Smith last year, right? He had, I don't remember the exact total of sacks he had last year, but he had almost all of them.
10 sacks.
I think he had 8 or 9 in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, since the middle of the last year, he's got like 1 or 2 sacks. We're talking almost a full season.
Yeah.
So he's getting old. He's not the same player he was. He still has value. He's still playing, pretty well. But in terms of actually getting to the quarterback, I think he's behind Ogbo. I think obviously he's behind Myles Garrett.
Right.
And I just don't think he's the guy getting to the quarterback right now.
He's flashed in the run defense, for sure.
I don't agree. I don't agree that he's gotten older. I don't agree that he has taken a step back.
Well, that's a fact. He's gotten older.
Well, I mean,
Everybody gets older.
You find somebody that gets younger, that's breaking news.
I didn't say he's playing poorly.
No,
I just said he's not as good as he was.
No,
I
I still think he's good. He just don't. Sometimes, Jim Shores talked about it. Sometimes you don't have the production that you're going to have because production sometimes is based on opportunity. Sometimes you can beat a guy in 2 seconds and he flushes the guy right to Myles Garrett. Or there's times where he's beating his guy, quarterback just does a good job of getting rid of the ball. Sacks
or 3 guys get home.
Yeah, or sacks are a function of right place, right time, just like interceptions.
Agreed, and he hasn't been the right place at the right time very often since the middle of last year.
No, that's true.
And I also think because they're starting Gardner Minshew, and because he threw 3 picks last year, and they know how good the Browns last week, and they know how good the Browns defense is, I think the Colts' only hope is running the ball. Zach Moss quietly has been phenomenal
awesome. No,
this
he's been
year.
very good.
And Jonathan Taylor's back. They got 2 good backs.
Right.
So I think they're really going to run the ball a lot. So I don't think there's going to be that many opportunities for sacks.
I think
because the Browns' offense is also not so good enough right now that they're going to blow. I don't think they're going to blow the Colts out.
There's going to be a game where either him or Myles Garrett, they get hot, or what I call just basically being where they're supposed to, and they'll rack off and run off 2-3 sacks in the game. Yeah. It just happens like that when you got good players on defense.
And to Bull's last point, the Gardner Minshew and the running game with Moss and Taylor, and possibly Anthony Walker not being in there, they are going to run the ball. They are going to slow the game down. So, again, I love how Sedarius Smith's been playing. That combination of him and Myles Garrett's exceptional. So that's a homer call by me to say yes on the sack. But to Bull's factual points at the end, they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to play action and do the quick passing game. And they're going to they probably will limit the options or limit the opportunities for us.
I just think we do.
Yeah.
By the way, how about this? Let me just give you the stat real quick. So, Sedarius Smith on November 13th of last year got a sack that gave him 9.5 on the season.
Yep.
The last 7 games of last year, he had a half a sack.
So that's 12 games.
So in the last 12 games, he has a half a sack.
He's due. He's due.
It wouldn't stun me, certainly, but
It's a guess. Okay.
Sedarius does rank in the top 10 in pass rush win rate, so he has been effective as a pass rusher,
yes,
even though the stats don't necessarily back it up.
Yeah, now he's helped obviously by Myles Garrett, but that's a fact.
So Bernie, before we get to the next question, I just want to let you know we have a 3-4 split, so you can make this a dead even 50% split here, depending on your answer. The question is, will any Colts running back average at least 3.6? Not any. Excuse me. Will the Colts running backs average 3.6 yards per carry against this vaunted Browns defense on Sunday? 3.6 is the number.
Yeah, I actually think they will, and I still because they can't throw.
Yeah. What if the Browns? What have they allowed?
3.4. So slightly above, and for the season, the Colts are averaging 4.2. So I tried
To
to find
running
that
back
happy medium.
specifically, Mike?
So just to running backs.
This is running backs. No quarterback sneaks, no receivers.
Right.
And I'm glad Bernie said yes, because that does make it a perfect
4-4 split.
4-4 split. On the yes side of the fence with Bernie is me, is Bull and Jay, and that's the smart side of the fence. On the wrong side of the fence is Earl, Jason,
Bernie's
G,
on
and
that
Ty.
side too, so that's the brilliant side of the fence.
That's right.
Am I next to that McNugget of yours?
Yeah.
Yes.
McNugget.
Joe Thomas called me McNuggets on the third show we ever did. So it just
that's how
stuck,
we got
and
the
now
nickname.
McNuggets.
Now, the teams the Browns have faced so far this year, outside of Tennessee, don't have good running backs. Joe Mixon's decent, but the Bengals are not a
Christian
running team.
McCaffrey?
Yeah.
But McCaffrey got hurt.
He was hurt.
When did he get hurt? When McCaffrey? What quarter
He
was
played
that?
in the third quarter,
He
but
took a
very
snap in the
minimal,
third quarter.
Very minimal.
What was he averaging? What did he average for the game?
Give me 1 second, pull it up.
So I
bet
mean, I don't
not
think it's going to be
3.6.
way above that, but the Colts are a good running team. I think they'll be just above
I'm not
that.
conceding nothing to the Colts. You're not going just because they can't throw the football don't mean they're going to run the ball for
That's
100,000
true.
yards. Listen,
Well, nobody said they're going to have a huge game.
It means they're going to try to
they're
run
going
the
to
ball.
try to run
By
this
the way,
ball.
G, if they average 3.8 yards a carry, that's not a good game.
No, that's not.
McCaffrey averaged
we didn't
4
say
carry.
that. None of us said the Colts are going to light up the Browns in the running game.
I mean,
we just said it was going to be over 3.6.
I like I like the Colts. What they got? What's the name? Taylor back. Moss has been doing, but Moss is no Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey. The Cleveland Browns are coming off a game where I think this only stokes the fires. They're going to be even more emboldened. They're going to be like, listen, we'll put 35 dudes up here, and you're not going to run the ball
they
at all.
should. If I'm the Browns, I'm putting 8 in the box.
8 in the box all day long.
I'm not worried about Gardner
McCaffrey
Minshew.
averaged 4 yards a carry. I know Derrick Henry was nowhere near that.
No, Derrick
Henry was. They put a lid on Derrick
Yeah.
Henry.
And if
that's hard to do.
And if they can get some early points when they stop them and they get the Colts down, then the running game goes right out the
Then they start
window.
throwing
Yeah,
the
see,
That's true.
This is where Jim Schwartz's defense with that wide 9. Okay, when you're crushing and collapsing the pocket and you're one-dimensional, like he made Tennessee, and that he could do that. He could do that again to Gardner Minshew and the running game this week.
What's next?
We have our last one here, guys, and then we're going to move on and talk a little historical offenses and defenses, which I can't wait to do with Bernie in the house here. But this was not a perfect 4-3 split. It was a 5-2 split, so Bernie can make this pretty even. Will the Browns win the turnover battle against the Colts for the first time this season? Miraculously, the Browns 3-2 on the year, despite being 0-5 in the turnover battle. Bernie, is this the game the Browns come out on top in the turnover game?
This is great to be able to say this. I think we could say no, and it doesn't matter.
It defies logic, but
Right.
so
I mean,
far.
I'm not saying it to be funny, and I absolutely don't want it to happen. If we win the turnover battle, I can't see any way that they win the game anyways.
Yeah.
And I still see how we've been losing the turnover battle. It's
crazy.
Our defense is so spectacular that they're kind of an eraser for mistakes.
That's exactly right. And they're 4-1 if they don't turn it over against Pittsburgh in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and they still would have lost that turnover battle because they
would have.
were
You're right.
-2 in that
You're
game.
right.
And from a QB perspective, I felt like this in the 80s. I did not want to have turnovers, but I didn't lose my brain over them because I knew at times that the defense was going to bail me out. I really believe they're going to bail me out.
That's a nice safety net. And they're
That's
playing with
it.
that same safety net now.
you got to go for it sometimes. Like I'm not afraid of throwing picks. You got to go for it. Like sometimes that ball's got to go, and it don't always work out. But in duress and chaos, it isn't easy to throw that ball 18 yards, 56 feet down there around the Myles Garrett's arms, over the Anthony Walker's
Right.
hands to drop it in before Ronnie Lott decapitates Reggie Langhorst.
Right, no,
That's why we're all in concussion protocol.
hospital balls.
Hey, y'all would have been walking in protocol. Like, y'all would have never been out of protocol back then.
I know what's
God.
hilarious is that my guy Ronnie Lott's ahead of concussion treatment now. He caused half of mine.
Bernie tells a funny story about back then. Here was concussion protocol. They would say, "How many fingers am I holding up?" And Bernie said, "It was always 2." So even if I saw 4, I said 2, and I got to go back into the game.
Hey, and in training camp was so long back in July and August. We had meetings about that. During the season, if you're on Sunday And you're going to come out, the doctor and trainer come out, you're going to get the concussion test. And the concussion test is the fingers. And it's not going to be 1, because that's too easy. Let me show off the Super Bowl ring. It's not going to be 3, because you may miss that. It always was 2. And you had a meeting about that.
That's insane.
And I was actually joking around with, God, it's amazing. I cognitively could remember this. I didn't say it on this show, but I said it to Austin Love this morning. Was one of my first times getting tested on it. And again, don't do this, young kids out there and young parents. But back then, to mitigate a concussion, you would have smelling salt. So I was getting so many of them that I'd have a pocket with a little smelling salt. And again, don't do this either, but back in the day, you were rough at the bottom of the pile. So there's 10 or 15 seconds of stuff going on there that you had time to smell the smelling salts and collect your thoughts, because you knew within 10 or 15 seconds the doctor was going to be out there, and you had to do the concussion test. So I had that Jets. After that Jets double overtime, Gastineau hit me, and I'm doing that, and I'm coming out, and it's I'd thrown the picks. We're down 10 points. People are steaming out of the dog pound. I see Bill Tessendorf, the great trainer, the great John Bergfeld from the Cleveland Clinic, one of the only team docs I had who didn't push pain pills on me. So thank you, brother. You were great. But he comes up to me and he goes, and I was impatient to get back into the huddle, and I was trying to get past the doc because I didn't want him to know I was concussed. And he goes, wait, you got to do the evaluation. He goes, how many fingers? I go, 2. He goes, well, you're lying. You're lying. I didn't even do it yet. And I go, bro, I'm Nostradamus. I saw the future. I can't be concussed. You know?
That's so good.
And that's spiritual.
We laugh about it now, but there are players that are in bad shape.
No, in bad shape.
Because of that.
And I look at the conflict there of that changed my life, cognitively and physically. I have issues for multiple decades, and it was dark at times between retiring in '97 and then figuring out what to do in 2017. That was a dark 30 years, 3+ decades and stuff. But I would have lost that game if I left. So I would have not won that game. At the beginning of my career, then I would have lost the first playoff game I played in 1985 against the Dolphins, and then I would have lost that game. That affects my whole psyche, a lot of my confidence and belief in myself.
That Jets game was the signature win of that era.
What happened then, that was a springboard for me personally and my confidence in the 87, 88. The 89 team wasn't that good, but we had such belief and confidence from the miracles that we pulled off on 86 and 87 that it was a springboard. So, I'm really conflicted as a health and wellness guy who doesn't want. I'm so happy when my son stopped playing. I didn't want to see him play. I don't want to see him have a shitty, not supposed to swear, terrible 30s, 40s, and 50s. That was lost decades.
Not worth it.
With that. But the confidence and belief and respect I have for myself was because I won that game and I came back. And I'm so thankful to God that I got to play in that game and finish and win it, because I don't want to live here as a 60-year-old guy feeling bad that I threw 2 picks to lose the game. I'd rather be concussed and have no back teeth, because Gastineau knocked out my back teeth, and it's partly why I'm a juicer and I don't eat steak.
Mikey,